In this video, I'll take you through a step-by-step process in setting up an access control system. This is the main access control terminal that we'll be using in the setup. It is a ZK TECO F18 access control terminal, which has a fingerprint scanner and also has the ability to accept and verify persons using RFID cards. The RFID card can be swiped in front of this device in order to verify persons accessing the area where the access control system is mounted. This is another component, which is an electromagnetic lock. It is supposed to be mounted on the door whose access is to be controlled. We will see how it works when we do the setup. I have here an exit button which will be connected into the access control system, and this is to facilitate exit for persons that have already been verified through the access control terminal and are inside the room where the access control is installed. We will be wiring it through these terminals you see behind the device. This is a power supply unit which we'll be using in our setup. I also have here a few wires that we'll be using to interconnect the various components that will be used in this setup. For us to be able to successfully set up this system, or as required in any access control system setup, it is very important to refer to the manual or the start guide of the access control system on how the system can be connected. This particular device, according to its start guide, can be connected to all these devices that you see drawn here. We will soon see how some of these devices listed here or drawn here can be connected as directed by the start guide. These sockets are the provisions through which all the devices listed in the start guide can be connected into the access control system. And we will be using this set of provided cables which will plug into each of these sockets to provide the means of connecting each component into the access control terminal. For example, when we take this set, this is the only socket into which it can fit. So I'll try and connect each of the cables into their respective sockets into which they can fit. So we have all these cables available through which we can connect the various components or devices that we wish to connect in our access control system setup. As mentioned earlier, we will be connecting an electromagnetic door lock, which is the part that will be installed on the door, and we'll also be connecting an exit button for opening the access control from inside the room. Let's now see how the electromagnetic lock connection is done. So we'll refer to the start guide and turn to the lock connection page. This illustration indicates that the lock connection can be done on the connection socket that is located at the bottom left corner of the device, which is referring to these ports that are here on the device. When you look at the table here, it gives further information on the port, including the description of each pin of the port, and you can as well see that the description of the pins have been replicated on the device itself, and this is to guide in the connection of this system. So let's now connect the lock, and this is the detailed lock connection diagram according to the start guide. On this diagram, there is a connection from NC1 which goes to the positive terminal of the lock. So let's go to the device. The NC1 is here, which is 1, 2, 3 from the bottom here. So the NC1 cable corresponds to the same count of 3 from this end. 1, 2, 3. So the yellow cable is the NC1. So I'll take it out of this set. Here is a wire I would like to use in connecting the magnetic lock. So I'll join these two wires by twisting them together. So my joint is done. I will be insulating all joints after we are done with all the connections. So I'll put this one down for now. But this other end of the wire is the end that goes to the positive terminal of the lock, as you can see on the diagram. So I'll join them together by twisting them as well. Again, I'll leave the insulation for now till I finish all the connections. So we'll now establish this connection, which is from the GND on the access control terminal. So I'll first trace the GND on the access control terminal. GND is located here. When you count, it is number 1, 2, 3, 4 from the top. So I'll count from here. 1, 2, 3, 4. So it is this black cable. So I'll take it out. And this is the cable I wish to use to connect it. So I'll twist the two cables together. We will be insulating the joints later. So the other end of the one I just joined is going to the negative terminal of the lock. So I'll just join it to the negative terminal of my lock. Let's move on to connect the exit button. Again, the start guide will show us how to connect it. Here is the illustration of how the exit button can be connected. But again, as illustrated, the exit button will also be connected to the connection port that is located at the lower left corner of the device, as indicated here on the diagram. So let's get to connect the exit button now. So we will connect a cable from BUT. BUT is here. When you trace it, it is number 5 from the top, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So it is the gray cable that is here. So we'll now attach a cable to the gray cable. So it means that this is the cable coming from BUT. So it will go to one of the terminals of the exit button. So I'll loose here and fix it in and tighten it up. Now there is a connection from GND going to the other point on the exit button. GND is here, which is cable number 4, and it is the black cable. We earlier on made a connection to the GND, so we'll add the new connection to it. So I'll add a fresh cable to this connection. And this end goes to the exit button. So I'll push it in here and tighten. This means that the exit button is also fully wired. When you look at the diagram here, there is a 12 volts and a GND shown. That represents the power supply unit, for which reason we will be using this 12 volts power supply unit. We need just one of the pairs of the power supply units, and so I will be using this particular pair. So I'll put a cable into the positive here, and that goes to COM on the access control terminal. COM is here, and when you trace it by count, it is 1, 2, 3, 4, which is the red cable. So we'll join the 12 volts to the red cable, which is COM. We'll finally connect the negative terminal of the power supply unit, which is also known as GND. So I'll put this terminal here I'll connect it to GND on the access control terminal. It is already established that it is the black cable of which we have already connected some cables to. So I'll connect the GND from the power supply to this set of cables which are already on the GND. Now, every device that we intended to connect in this setup has been connected. So now go ahead and insulate all the joints that we've made so far. The insulation is very important in order to prevent short circuits that can cause the damage of your equipment. And so in doing the insulation, it must be done very well before you power up your systems. You would realize that we have not made connection into a lot of the cable sets, and so we can just plug them out of the system to keep our system simpler and tidied. You will notice that this particular one is for power supply into the access control terminal. So I'll connect this adapter that is provided into the system to get it ready for power supply into the terminal. So I can now turn on my power supply unit and then plug up power for the access control terminal as well. The access control terminal is gradually loading up, and so we'll wait for it to fully load up. The system is ready now, and so I want to turn over the side of the magnet that shows the indicator light on the electromagnet, and that is right here, as you can see. And since the light is on, that means the electromagnet is active, and that connotes a locked door, where these two parts are now strongly magnetized to each other and can only be separated by either the exit button or by verification on the access control terminal. Let's now try the use of the exit button. By pressing the exit button, the light on the electromagnetic lock goes off, and you can then separate the two parts that were formerly magnetized to each other. Once you close the door, that is putting together the two parts of the electromagnetic system, the lights on the electromagnet comes on and the lock becomes active again. Apart from the exit button, you can use the access control terminal to open the lock by getting verified through your fingerprint or through an RFID card that has been programmed into the access control terminal. I'm yet to register my ID card into this particular machine, and so I'm not able to verify this card. The same applies to my fingerprint, else they would have been able to equally open the magnetic lock. Programming and registering fingerprints and ID cards on these machines are self-intuitive that you can easily carry out. Let me hear from you if you have any comments or questions about this video, but don't forget to subscribe to this channel. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the next video.